The NYAKA AIDS Orphans Project combats poverty using a human rights-based holistic approach. That is a powerful mission, and it also sounds pretty complicated. But I have a different take on our mission. I believe that we identify the obstacles that stand in the paths of children attempting to get an education, and we demolish those obstacles one by one, systematically, because education is a poverty killer. I snapped this photo about a week ago. I stood over these hills, and it's kind of where the hills sigh, and there's like a river that runs through it, and it's absolutely beautiful. And as I'm driving along this horrid road that they dubbed the African massage, it was awful. I kept hearing the words, "the love below." And other than it being a song by Andre 3000, and completely unrelated to a trip to southwestern Uganda, I could not figure out why I kept hearing those words. You look at this beautiful vista and you would not believe that out of 32 million people that live in Uganda, 2.2 million are orphans because of HIV/AIDS. That's nearly 10% of the entire population. These are the most vulnerable children in southwestern Uganda. Education is not free. If your parents cannot afford for you to have tuition, school supplies, and a uniform, you don't get to go to school. That's it, done. Poverty is hunting the children in Uganda. It's stealing their future, and it's killing their dreams. But we have a solution. Meet Rosette. She was a double orphan by the time she was 14, or by the time she was an infant. Her grandmother attempted to get her an education, but in Rosette's own words, she had trouble excelling because she was being chased for school fees. She came to NYAKA in 2004, and she is now first in her class with the ambition of becoming an engineer. She calls herself the happiest girl, and so do we. Education is a poverty killer. Rosette is not alone. These are the students of Kutamba Primary School. They're very proud of their peace signs and their thumbs up and their waving. A lot of personality in that class. And this is NYAKA Primary School. And we even have secondary students. That was me attempting to be a serious student like Irene. She wants to be a nurse someday. No doubt, she probably will be. All told, we have 585 students that we are providing a quality education for free. I was honored to meet their instructors, and if you could see when the gates of the school open and the children run to their teachers, you would kind of get a picture of the foundation we're building with these schools and the community. There's no school buses in Uganda, not in this area. And so children walk miles to get to school, and they are grateful for the opportunity. But in the beginning, when they arrived, they were falling asleep at their desks. They were hungry, they were malnourished, and they were exhausted. Obstacle? Hunger. Our solution? Desire Farm. 17 acres of cabbage and bananas, and we have cows and goats, all providing a nutrition program that feeds them twice a day, lunch, breakfast, and then they also get a snack. Oops. It's managed by Florence, who is awesome and really proud of those bananas because she knew that they were feeding those children. I actually left with a big bunch of pineapples to take to the nursery school. And it was really kind of interesting because I discovered that pineapples, believe it or not, do not grow on trees. That may not blow your mind, but I, for some reason, never knew that. These are cups running over. And this is what full bellies look like. At our organization, we were able to watch their minds re-engage. They can get an education, they're awake, They can hear us. They're not sleeping. Obstacle demolished. Health is critical to learning. Water is critical to health. 60% of Ugandans do not have access to clean water, which means they're susceptible to cholera and other waterborne illnesses. If children are sick, they do not come to school. Obstacle, disease-ridden water. Our solution, a gravity-fed water program that provides clean water to the entire community. This is Amos. He oversees it. 17,500 people are getting clean water under his management. That includes 3 churches, 2 private schools, and 120 households. Obstacle, demolished. No matter what you do, kids get sick. I have 3 children. They are constantly sick. One of them is sick, the other one gets sick because that one's sick, then I get sick, then my husband gets sick, and on, no matter what you do. Our children at NYAKA do get sick. This community has 1 doctor for 250,000 people. Imagine what that means. Imagine every illness you've had in your life, and imagine that you could not go to the doctor to get that treated because you couldn't afford it or because there just simply weren't the resources. Obstacle, access to health care. Solution, the Mummy Drayton School Clinic. We have a clinic now that is just outside of NYAKA Primary School where the community is now able to access basic health care. Oops. Okay, this little guy right here, that's Abel. He is a gentleman and a scholar. He is, I think he's in 1st grade, 6 years old. His sister does not attend NYAKA schools, but she was sick. She had an eye infection, and Abel, that little boy, brought her to the clinic. He knew where he could find help. Obstacle demolished. Now, this is Rosaria, and I'm going to tell you a story that's not actually her story. It's actually kind of a story of the 6,500 grandmothers that we serve. And to kind of give you an idea of how much the members of the community are invested in this idea that education is a poverty killer. It rains about every day in Uganda, and this is the type of housing that you can see behind her. It's leaning back. There are holes in the wall, and it's a thatched roof, so water comes into their homes quite often. And the children will take their uniforms, and they will ball them up, and they will lay on the floor in the middle of the night, and the grandmothers will lay on top of them to make sure that if nothing else, in the morning, they can still go to school. Obstacle, housing. These are our beautiful, beautiful grandmother groups, and this is a piece of the solution. This solution is quite a bit larger than the other ones. This is one of 91 groups that we serve with both AIDS education, microfinance, and even parenting skills. They themselves decide who is the most needy in their group, and they select them to receive a new house, or a kitchen, or a latrine, or all 3. And then we send these 2 men. These are our grandmother coordinators. I had the privilege of not only meeting with the NYAKA grandmother group, but I was also able to go to 3 separate grandmother homes. And they were never called grandmother coordinators. They were called the grandfathers. Our grandmothers are now sleeping in homes where the rain does not come in. Clothes are dry on the line, and children are able to sleep in their own beds. Obstacle demolished. So I had been there I went for a week. I was there for a week in the village, and the whole time I kept thinking, the love below, what does that mean? And I discovered that it meant Amos. Now I'm trying to keep it together. It meant grandmothers. It meant the doctor at our clinic that works 7 days a week. And when I asked him, when do you take a day off? He said, I don't. This is the love below. Sorry. That's a good timing, because now I can't cry, because that is what I look like when I get it in Uganda. That never happens here in the United States. That's what I look like when I get an idea. But it was kind of like where it all came together. When we say a holistic approach, it does mean the love below. It means that all of these people are kind of pushing the ends together and pushing these children towards the final goal of getting an education so that poverty cannot chase them down. So I just want to leave you with the idea that this is not magic. It really isn't. It's not like this is like a special village and like special things happen here and it can never happen ever again. The beauty of this holistic approach is that it can happen anywhere. You could take this and drop this in Budapest. You could take it and you could drop it in China. You could do it in Louisiana. You could do it anywhere. But the most important part is that the community is invested in the idea that education is a poverty killer. And they are buying those shares. And they are taking those kids to school. Sorry. Global poverty is the enemy. And the solution is an education.